Hello, everybody. It's Monday evening again. And here we are doing yet another Mindful Me live. How lovely it is to be here again. Lovely to see you joining. Oh, I do like looking at some of those names. I want to wave back to you all. Isn't it wonderful that this incredibly interesting time in our history allows us to do things like this? I would never have thought about it. In fact, if someone had said to me, why not do some Instagram lives, I would have said never. And yet, here we are. And I have to tell you, I look forward to it now. I love this opportunity. More than anything, I really, really love the feedback that comes afterwards. It's an absolute joy and delight to have the messages that people send saying how much they enjoyed being part of listening, being present, which is, of course, what happens. So I'm really happy to see you all joining. I'm glad that we've made this time to do this. I like to imagine that you're all here, that we're all sitting in my room together, and we're going to have what I think of as my most special conversation of all, my choice. But also to speak tonight about the practice of meditation and having meditation in your life. I can't begin to tell you how many people have asked for this conversation too. And so because of that, it's from me to you and it's from you to me. I'm really aware of that. It is my greatest love, and I've often thought as when I'm teaching to people, I say I'm going to take this opportunity to share with you the greatest treasure I've ever been given. That's how I think about the practice of meditation and what it means for me in my life. So I'll tell you some about that as we get to talk, as I'm waiting for you all to join in. I want to explain that as well as listening to the session tonight, in which we talk about meditation, because after all, that's all I can do, just speak to you about my experience of it and how I've been taught to teach. I'd like to remind you that if you want to take this further, what you can do is join with the workshop that will be running on Zoom this coming Saturday at 4:00. There are spaces and we'd be really happy to have you. All you need to do is get in touch with Kirsty at mindfulme.me is her email address, and she will really happily book you to a place in the workshop. So our discovery is this. We do this talk on the Monday evening about the topic, and then during the week people write to me, message, let us know what they heard, what they experienced, what they'd like, and they talk about what they've taken from it. And out of that, what I do is organise my way into teaching about it in a deeper way. So the teaching becomes a deepening of the experience that we hear when we're at this doing the live. I love the thought of that because many of you who join in may not be aware of what Mindful Me teach, although I imagine because you're here you have an idea. So the practice of meditation and mindfulness, which is really quite lovely when you think about it, is what the basis of our business is. So Mindful Me in the Middle East, a group of us all together, so we're all here tonight welcoming all of you. On behalf of my whole team, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I see that Kirsty is with us, and if you ask a question, she'll be sure to let me know about it. If there's more that you want to know about, all you have to do is get in touch with us, and we're really happy to answer your questions, also to be able to deliver what it is that you're wanting. So imagine that tonight we're going to look at the practice of meditation. I was thinking, will I talk about my experience of that? Will I just see what unfolds? I laugh about it because last week I wrote myself a whole page of notes and I didn't even pick up the notepad and look at it once. So I'm curious about what will happen as we talk about it tonight. I'm curious too how many of you actually have a meditation practice of your own, how many are interested in different styles and methods of meditation, and how many of you would like to learn something new. I noticed during the week on Instagram that I watched a post by Russell Brand. I'm sure that you'll be familiar with Russell Brand. I actually really love listening to him. I listen to his podcasts when I'm out walking. And this week he posted a rather interesting little excerpt saying, did you know that one of the biggest searches on Google in this last week has been the word prayer? He was very interested about that and said it's fascinating that in this time people are asking this question, tell me about prayer. So when I think about my early beginnings, prayer was actually a part of my life. It was the nature of our home and regular Christian church attendance. And I was taught to say prayers before I went to sleep. I remember it now, I lay me down to sleep. So I would say that the practice of meditation has always been some kind of part of my life. And I'm interested that when I go to teach the workshops, little excerpts from my childhood arrive. I'll share one with you. It's kind of cute. And it says a lot about my lovely mum, who died when I was a child. I cannot remember why I asked her this, but I said to her one day, could I please have one of the boxes that the tomatoes come in? A small box that actually my younger brother Michael would have cut up for kindling, I remember. Can I have this box and put it in my room? And can I please borrow a little cloth, like a tray cloth or a little tablecloth, an embroidered one, a special one from the cupboard? And she said, yes, bring the box in and let's go through the linen cupboard and look at little cloths. And I chose a really pretty little hand embroidered tablecloth. And she asked me what I wanted it for. And I remember telling her, what I'm going to do is make a little table and put a wee vase of flowers on it. Then I'm going to sit in front of it with my legs crossed and I'm going to talk to God. And she said, right. Well, I suggest that you make your little table, set up your little table behind the door, because then when your brothers and sisters or other one come in to see, they won't see that you're there and they'll leave you in peace. That's how she considered it. Now, do you know, to this day I can still remember sitting there, and I imagine I was about 8. What was I doing? What was I doing? As a small child, I wouldn't have known the word meditation, nor would I have known what I was doing. But do you know, some years later, as an adult, when I learned the practice of an in-depth meditation, it was one of the first things that I remembered. I know how to do this. I remember learning when I was a child. So it's always been a part of my life. People ask many questions about meditation. Do you know there is many types of meditation as there is food and menus? And I sometimes think meditation is about thinking about a big meal. For some people, the practice of meditating is like having an hors d'oeuvre, a starter, an appetizer. For some people, you have an appetizer, you go on to have the soup, you go on to have a main course. Palate cleansers in between maybe, another helping, and then maybe a dessert. And I sometimes think that for many people, the early introductions to meditation could be just the teaching of an hors d'oeuvre, a starter, an appetizer. And some people never get past that. Had you ever thought about it like that? There's always something more to learn, and especially with the practice of meditation. So as we talk about it this evening, I want to focus on the word beyond. beyond. If you look for the dictionary definition of the word beyond, it says the unknown. Think about the word beyond as we speak about meditation. And imagine beyond as somewhere beyond understanding, beyond imagination, beyond the experience you've had so far, but somewhere you can know. So if you think about meditation practice like a starter, you never get to find out about the main course if all you ever do is have a starter. Sometimes when I go out for dinner, because I'm an avid lover of dim sum, I only have dim sum. And while I'm eating my third or fourth lot of dim sum, I sometimes think to myself, I haven't moved on to the main course. Now, what do you think, thinking about meditation like that? If you were all sitting here with me, I'd ask you to pick up your pen and paper right now. Write the word meditation. Take a nice big deep breath in. Drop your attention out of your thinking mind, deeper down into your body, and write words that arrive for you in your mind that you would equate with your sense of what meditation has meant, does mean, or could mean for you. So I'm curious, what are the words that come up for you now when you think of meditation and you write a word? One of the first words I wrote down when I was thinking about asking this question is the word breath. And then I wrote silent. And under silent, I put the word still. And then I wrote present. Here. Now. Take that deep breath. And I'll tell you the rest of the words I've written, and I hope that you're thinking of your own. Now think of the word beyond. This is not beyond you. This is available for all of us, these experiences. But to me, making a main meal of your meditation, this is what meditation means. Connection, awareness, consciousness, stillness, presence, openness, deep as in depth. Here, now, calm, surrender, clarity, peacefulness. You could say that these words describe and explain the benefits of meditation, but they actually are meditation. All of these words mean to meditate. The benefits from meditation are all of these words. The experience of a practice is all of these words. But should we start with, why would anyone want to learn to meditate? And I'm with Russell Brand on, why have so many people in the current challenging and difficult situation Googled what is prayer? Why have so many people asked about meditation at the moment? What is it that everyone is wanting it for? What would you use it for? And what would you believe it would bring you if you were to meditate? So another word that describes it is space, spaciousness. And for those of us who are full at the moment of uncertainty and difficulty and struggle, who are up to here with questions, who are really experiencing, as we've been speaking in the last few weeks, difficult emotions, negative thinking, and soul-hurting uncertainty. Meditation feels like, sounds like something that could bring you some space from that. And you'd be right. It does. However, it's incredibly difficult to sit still when every fibre of your being is jumpy and on edge, and when the stillness just brings you to an even deeper discovery of the tension that's in you, of the tightness in your body, of the constriction and the dis-ease of your breathing. So one's first thought is, I need to escape from this. The last thing that I can do is relax and be here. So you'd understand that you could liken learning how to meditate a bit like learning how to run a marathon. You don't just get up and do the marathon that morning because you thought about it. You do a great deal of practice, of toning up, of getting yourself ready for it. Of course, we need to do that for meditation too. It's a difficult thing to suddenly sit very still for long periods of time, as anyone who's been on a Vipassana retreat would discover. To sit for an hour at a time, completely still, in a posture that's not very comfortable, feels like being in living hell and takes a long time to get up and walk afterwards. There's no two ways about it. So it's a tough call to say to yourself, I think meditation's going to help me, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to sit here now for the next half an hour, and I'm going to sit in the ways that I've watched people sitting, straight back, erect posture, focus on my breath, and I'm sure this is going to bring me some of this bliss and stillness that I'm requiring. It takes practice. And those of you who've been sitting for a while now will know the benefits arrive somewhat afterwards and later on during the day. After you've had a 10-minute meditation sitting in the morning, you might notice that calmness has arrived when you were least expecting it. So there are byproducts to it too, if not immediate after effects. The why people learn to meditate, countless reasons. Often it's because of shock or fear, a great loss, a huge amount of pain and illness, something really frightening that makes us stop and look at our lives. And you could say that that's what's happening now for many of us. Looking at what's going on in our lives right now makes us really stop in our tracks. And when you're stopped a bit and you just notice what's happening for yourself, it's not surprising that the whole of your being says to yourself, I'd like to learn how to stop and really notice what's going on here. Now, I would suggest that you begin from the beginning by learning mindfulness first. We offer mindfulness workshops and mindfulness teaching and mindfulness support to people when they ask us, can I learn to meditate? We suggest they learn mindfulness first. Let me just talk for a few minutes about the difference between mindfulness practice and meditation. We teach mindfulness meditations. They are short, focused breathing practices that help us come into the present moment, to still ourselves and to learn to be able to notice what our thinking and our feelings are doing. As we learn to practice noticing, which is what mindfulness is, we create more space within us where we can see what our thinking is doing and notice what our feelings are feeling and see them just as thoughts and feelings and sit with them, opening and allowing what's here. So without this knowledge, I think it's tougher to learn a deeper seated meditation practice without first learning how to just watch your thinking. Now, I want to touch on this point several times. Many people come to the practice of meditation by using mindfulness apps nowadays we all take something to help us more, and the apps that we use the most are Insight Timer, the Calm app, maybe Headspace. Many of you talk about varieties of different apps depending on which countries you're in and which are your favourites. And when you think about it, listening to a mindfulness meditation app by putting on some headphones and listening to it gives you some focus and helps you to begin the journey of noticing. I have a sense that when we are practicing mindfulness meditations, we are learning to get into the hors d'oeuvres, the starters, the soup before we come to the main course of meditation. That for me is how I was taught to see it. Does that make sense to you? When you listen to something from the outside of you, it settles you down. Practicing of an in-depth meditation is you on the inside of you, not drawn to listen with your ears, but absorbing the clarity that actually already exists within you. Not searching, not seeking, not listening out, but actually being present within. So I like to teach that because I recognise that many people find their lives have changed by beginning with the mindfulness, and they may stop there and not go on to seek a deeper experience. I was talking with someone, interestingly enough, during the week about the practice of doing a deeper meditation, and he was suggesting that he had been advised to have a conversation with himself about where he was at, what he holds dear, his values, etc. I found that an interesting conversation because I said to him, what fascinates me about that is that you exchanged stillness for a conversation with your thoughts. So we in our language would say, I'm going to meditate on the values of honesty and compassion. So I think that you're listening to your thinking when you're doing that. Therefore, you're doing a mindfulness meditation practice. So let me tell you what my experience of meditation is nowadays and what I've been taught. First of all, I came to the practice of meditation because my motivation and intention was to deepen from a spiritual perspective. I've learned to teach meditation to people who aren't interested in a spiritual connection because I've discovered that they're one and the same and you can't avoid it. So your motivation and intention may be to teach yourself how to have a calmer mind, to teach yourself how to soothe and settle and relax. I came to meditation practice because I wanted a relationship with that which is beyond. There's that word again. Doesn't matter what you call it. And I have to tell you that since I've been living in the Middle East, I've discovered it is called all manner of different things. Awareness, goodness, connection, God, Buddha nature, knowing, Allah. Any of the names that we have been taught, that is the name for that which is beyond. Consciousness, that which is above us. So when I sit to do my practice and to connect with the beyond, I think that if I was to go back into my thinking mind and listen or focus on sentences, words, the study of something, paying attention to something I want to change in myself, then I would have left my meditation practice and gone back into a conversation. So I've learned to see that as my little catchphrase. I told you I'm going to talk about the way that I go about it. I am sitting here, for me, means I am sitting on your lap. Y, capital, for the beyond. And in my heart, my name for that is the infinite. And when I've sat into my practice for several moments, I promise you, my name for that becomes the infinite beloved. So a sense of stillness, a detachment from my thoughts, a presence to that presence becomes my practice. If I then chose to examine why I'm feeling so crotchety today and had a difficult time, it would be like I was saying to the beloved, I know I came to sit on your lap and be here with you, but actually what I'm going to do, instead of having a conversation with you, is I'm just going to read this for a little while. I'm going to pay attention to or I'm actually going to have a conversation with someone over here. I'm going to leave here and go there instead. Or I'm going to ponder a book. It would be the same as me saying, let's you and I go out for coffee. And the whole time we were there together, I'm on my phone scrolling through my Instagram account. Do you understand what I'm saying? That in actual fact, the practice of mindfulness teaches us to notice that our mind is thinking thoughts, and those thoughts produce feelings in our body. And if we have a conversation with those thoughts, we're caught in a story which produces the emotions in our body, which keeps us tangled, not in the now, but either in the past or in the future. And the only way to stay present to the presence is to be present in presence. So an in-depth meditation practice is learning to focus not on the thoughts in your mind or something being taught to you in your mind, but to practice sitting in the stillness. And the way to get there, first of all, is to learn to use the meditation practices that others teach us, beautiful practices on the apps that we can use. But at some stage, your entire being will have a readiness for the full meal, which actually becomes your presence to presence itself. So that you learn to say to yourself, oh, sorry, went off into a conversation with my own mind there and I forgot to pay attention to the beyond. Does that make sense to you? So if you were sitting here about this time, would you be asking me how? How do you do that? How do I not pay attention to my thoughts? So this is where mindfulness comes in. Learning to notice that thoughts are just thoughts. Actually seeing them as that, recognizing they're telling us a story, and to drop from your thinking mind deeper down into your body to where the nature of presence, your consciousness, your awareness itself is waiting for you to be aware of it. And you can, and it's there. You just need to practice it. There are thousands of different techniques to get you there. All of them are working towards your realization that there is much more beyond thought. There is much more beyond feeling. And if you cottoned onto that, you would learn to become somewhat impatient with the thoughts as they flood in, to let them just sit to the side. You can't stop thinking. That's the nature of your mind. But what you can do is to learn how to pay attention to what's going on deep within you. Deep within you. There is this incredible stillness beyond thought, beyond feeling. It takes practice, and there are many different ways. To start off with, posture certainly helps. People know that we're taught in meditation to sit with our spine erect, your chin in a straight line with the floor because your neck gets very heavy otherwise, and your hands resting so that your arms and shoulders are back and down. Now, another word for meditation would be the phrase alert. Stay alert, because intriguingly, many people say, oh, that meditation practice was amazing, Helen. I was so relaxed, I just felt like nodding off. I think, no. See, you don't learn to meditate to relax. Now we're going to talk about all the polarities that exist. Relaxation is a byproduct of actually finding a good posture and teaching your body that you don't have to pay attention to it any longer because your spine is erect, your arms are holding you in place. You can trust the scaffolding, the structure of your spine. You can trust your shoulders. You can trust your hips to keep you there, your sitting bones. You find a posture where, if it helps you, your back is leaning against something, held in place by as many cushions as you need. You don't have to go for stark discomfort here, so that you can relax your body and let it go. The purpose is not for you to relax, it's to actually stay present. When you really deeply relax, you know what happens? You go to sleep. And I have watched many a class full of people when I've been teaching, nodding, their heads jerking, and afterwards saying, oh, I think I had a good practice. I think I was quite relaxed. And I think, yes, you were asleep. There's a big difference. So that's why learning mindfulness helps us first, to recognise the posture is important. If someone suggests to you that you lie down, then I would suggest that you're doing a different kind of meditation practice. For instance, you'd be entering into a meditative state. I did a lovely meditative state the other night, listening to sound bowls. So a sound meditation is absolutely glorious, but it is so hard to stay awake. There's a certain hypnotic effect that helps you to deeply, deeply relax. The meditation of which I'm speaking is that which takes us beyond and into another realm of consciousness. This is available for all of us. That's where the treasure lies. These other practices are all ways of getting there and of knowing that it's possible. And I've certainly experienced that doing sound bowls. It's very nice. A style of meditation that some people really love is walking meditation. There's great stillness to be found in body movement. You practice staying present. But a really in-depth practice happens when your body is still as well. So walking meditation is a way of learning how to meditate to begin with. Just like using the apps, meditation entails using your breath, befriending your breath, learning how to be with your breath, using your lungs, breathing deeply into your body, practicing focusing on the breath. In many meditation practices, couple a breath practice with a mantra practice. That is, using a phrase and repeating it along with your breath to help you to stay focused rather than paying attention to your thoughts. So you may, for instance, focus on the mantra, I am, or I am here, or I am here now. I on the in-breath and am on the out-breath. You might focus on I am safe, I am here, I am still, bringing your mind back to that over and over again. The practice of the meditation going into the depth of conscious connection is when you allow both the breath and the mantra to drop away, and now you're feasting. Sitting into the silence and stillness of that space is an art to learn. It's a glorious state of being when you can see it, you can recognize there's a big difference between meditation and meditative states, between the practice of in-depth connection to altered consciousness in other realms and the practice of learning to still your thinking. So I'm going to suggest that whilst we're sitting here together, we do some meditation so that you have a sense of feeling it. And for the purpose of this, I would suggest that whilst you sit in a posture, and I'll invite you to do that I will read something for you to focus on. Because it wouldn't be a good Instagram live if there was just total silence the whole time. That would be interesting. So I will offer that to you. I'm going to talk also of another type of meditation, which is sound. So you can make the sound yourself. You can learn to chant, the chanting of the Om, oneness, or just humming, as I quite often teach people to do, connecting with your body. The listening to sound, a meditation, a meditative state of enjoying music, for instance, many people will say that's what happens for them. And how many of you listening now will tell me that your greatest state of presence arrives by being in nature? Focusing on a tree, the ocean, the sound of the waves, the feeling of the wind, the beauty of a flower, the touch of the grass beneath your bare feet, the sense of the sun on your cheek, the sheer beauty of green and sparkling water, of blue sky and clouds passing. Meditating on that is actually practicing a sense of oneness with all that what is. When you sense the beauty of the moon, the sheer joy of a glorious sunset, and it breathtakingly makes you stop for a minute and you stand in what we'd think of as a sense of wonder. You know that you've experienced beyond. How many of you have experienced beyond in that moment? It's available for all of us. This sense of such deep connection that your soul feels like it's dancing. You recognize it's the opposite of busyness. Everything that's available to us to learn is bringing us into the recognition and the knowing that we are all connected, that there is no difference between any of us, that our hearts all beat the same, that the blood races through our bodies no matter where we're from, that each of us have a longing for connection at the deepest level, and that connection is the truth of our own soul to that which is beyond, whether you know it or not. We're longing for it on one level. Every time we're longing to be held, we're longing to connect, we're longing for another's love, we're actually longing for that which I call the infinite, the connection of oneness. And the way that we have that is to learn to still our thinking minds. You know, one of the tricks we use in mindfulness practice is the glitter in this bottle. Think of the bottle as your mind, and the glitter is the millions of thoughts that are racing in your mind. The mind going over and over something, or round and round as we think about it. Full, and what we're after is some stillness. Now, if I show you this as the beginnings of a mindfulness meditation or our starting into mindfulness practice, the purpose of our mind is to think. The thoughts are there and we connect with them. Let me show you what happens when you do stillness. So when your mind becomes still in your body, Your attention focuses on the stillness, and you can see that the thoughts, when you're not paying attention to them, immediately drop away. They don't disappear, they just settle down. See, look, they're still here. But if you focus on stillness and not the thoughts will just mind their own business for a while. And your job is to learn to focus on the space that appears, on the stillness that is present. This is the beginning of the deep inner silence that opens us into all that is. Our connection with the universe that brings us home to ourselves. This is where, in the stillness, is that sense of clarity, of calm. It's the no longer paying attention to the mind. It's having glimpses of going beyond. See how lovely and clear it's become now, simply because we're not focusing on thinking. So let me just invite you, with that in mind, to sit up nice and straight wherever you are, focusing on your back as supporting you. Drop your shoulders down, wrinkle all the muscles in your face, and let your eyes gently close and your mouth settle into a little half smile. You'd be surprised how much better that makes you feel. And then bring your attention just to focusing on your breath, breathing in and out through your nose. And if it's uncomfortable for you to close your eyes, just focus them on nothing much. You know, that semi-half focus. But it's easiest if you close your eyes and block out sight for now. What I'm going to do is encourage you to notice your breath. The breath as it breathes in. I like to think of the cool air as I breathe in, clearing the space in my mind, just like I showed you in the bottle. The space in your mind with the cool air, noticing that your breath is warmer as you breathe out, and thinking about how that's your thoughts settling. They're being released with the out breath. And breathing in, notice that it's your breath that helps your body to settle. That's why the breath becomes the focus. Noticing the breath, not just breathing, but noticing the nature of the breath, what it does in your body, how you feel your chest rising and falling as you breathe. Focus on the word beyond and listen while I just give you a tiny hint of the most beautiful way of looking at a practice. This by Rupert Spira. I love it. He says, if I turn back and surrender inside of myself, then what I can focus on is the conscious awareness that's within me. So focus on your breath and imagine that your breath is the rising and the falling of waves onto the beach. Breathing in and breathing out. He tells us this. Your awareness of your breath is the awareness of consciousness. Can you now think of consciousness as being like the ocean? The ocean. And your thinking mind is the waves that rise on the surface of the ocean. But consciousness is the awareness of the stillness of the ocean. Deep within the body of the ocean, there is stillness. Your thoughts now are like the waves. They are playing and rising on the surface of the ocean. And the feelings that arise are simply the currents that happen within the ocean, but in the depth of the ocean there is complete and utter stillness. Our thoughts are the waves that take place on the surface of the ocean. Our feelings are the currents that take place within the ocean. So our thoughts and our feelings are simply the activity of the ocean. The waves and the currents are the ocean in motion. Our thoughts and our feelings are the waves and the currents of the ocean in motion. Now, all your mind has to do to find the peace it longs for is simply just to sink into the depths of the ocean, into the depths of awareness, into the depths of stillness. When a thought comes, you're up again into the wave. All waves crash and resound back into the sea. All waves are part of the depth. All the currents, moving, are part of the depth. So you notice as your breath rises and falls that you can use your breath to calm the waves, to calm the motion of the current. You can use your breath to settle yourself and say, all thoughts, all feelings, you're being busy. You're the ocean in motion. I'm yearning, I'm longing to sink into the vast beyond the stillness. That stillness which actually brings us clarity. That stillness which brings us silence, inner silence, presence, connection, openness, clarity, surrender. When you think of those words, our longing to surrender, when you think of how many times our thinking mind says, oh, if only this, and why can't I that, and our feeling emotion says it's not fair, this feels, you can remind yourself with one good deep breath, let me still the waves by moving into the deeper part of the ocean. I'm reminded of this lovely way of seeing it. Fish swimming in the ocean, in the depth. Fish swimming in the middle of the deepest sea, asking another fish, you know, I'm feeling anxious today. This isn't working for me. Where's the water? Why can't I find the water, says he, swimming madly. He's already in it and doesn't realise that what he's actually swimming in is the water. I got to find me some peace in this water. Shows you, back to the breath, back to the thinking, the realisation that I'm in my thinking, back to surrender, to drop into the stillness, away from the busyness of the thinking mind. Grateful that you can notice each in-breath creates a space, each out-breath releases. No, we don't want to be sleeping here. We want to just be allowing the water in its depth to hold us up. The consciousness, which is presence of our own awareness, to hold us in a space that later we can bring with us, and throughout the day recognize that the practice of stillness and meditation feeds stillness into every part of our body. So remembering with each breath that thoughts and feelings are just simply the ocean in motion. Don't go with the story of the thought. Don't go with the calamity of the emotion, but remember, breathe again, drop down into stillness. Meditation is just making us this choice to do this. Take a nice deep breath in now. Breathing deeply in, allow your body to settle by sighing the energy out. Gently opening your eyes if you'd closed them. Being grateful for a practice that reminds us that actually that stillness is available within each of us. If we go searching for it, we're like the fish. Oh my goodness, I'm in such a state, why can't I find what I'm looking for? Actually, it's already there. This is the paradox. The beyond is within. And so within, so without, the beyond is without as well. But learning to drop deeply into it. The joy of that is what meditation really is. That's the meal. Isn't that interesting? Learning in bite-sized chunks to drop, to surrender, away from the busyness of our thoughts. And when the thought comes, just to notice you're just a wave. It's interesting that when we're in nature, sometimes that just happens automatically. We don't have to do anything. Something so beautiful, so still, so delicious in its natural wonder stops us in our tracks. And for a moment we're transfixed and we remember, I am all this. I don't have to work for it. The paradox is that we have to practice how to find that which is already common within us. The practice is getting beyond thought, getting beyond the association of thoughts and feelings, of all the noise and the discomfort that arrives. Remembering that if we struggle with time, it's just because we've lost the now. If we're in the now, if we are present, time, is not linear. And we can find plenty of it. The notion that there is a difference between meditation and meditative states, that you can have bite-sized chunks that lead there, but to actually surrender into stillness is surrendering into the notion that I am not my thoughts. I am that which is beyond thought. And when you really understand that in its depth, and that takes practice, you'd understand why meditation becomes the greatest treasure. It becomes the place that in the end, instead of disciplining ourselves to go to, we simply long to be there because it's our natural way of being. Now on Saturday, we'll learn some more about actually doing meditation, and we'll learn some more about the difficulties and why we so struggle to surrender into the depths of the ocean. But I hope that this has brought some insight to you or some understanding tonight that the practice of meditation is just simply coming home to what is. And it's interesting that paradoxically we don't have to search for it. We just become that which we already are. Such a difficult concept. And once you've grasped it, it's so true. It's so simple, actually, that our thoughts and our feelings are just simply activity, and there is more beyond that. Next week, when we sit to do the Monday night, I want to talk about facing into uncertainty, because that's another question I'm constantly being asked. And I want you to have the awareness of that which is uncertain is beyond too. We're going to look at it in a different kind of way and answer the question, is it possible, honestly, to get comfortable with not knowing? What I could ask you, is it possible to get comfortable with meditation? Meditation has been a part of my life for so many years now, I can't remember not doing it. I love to teach it. It really does feel like it was the greatest treasure that was ever given to me. And I remember actually as a child, the sense of I feel like I've come home. That notion of home is I've come here to me. The ocean inside of us, the stillness that exists within each one of us, is the awareness of awareness itself. Our true nature, who we really are without struggle. The difficulty for many in meditation is that the stillness means confronting the aspects of myself that are uncomfortable. Actually learning to sit in the depth of the ocean and stopping swimming around so madly is learned, but is actually also part of our true nature. So therefore it's available for all of us. And the sentence that brings everyone as their first motivation is, how can I still my thinking? I hope you've recognised that what I've suggested is, once you begin to focus on there is more beyond thought, we don't have to worry about stilling our thinking. We just focus on something else instead. Thank you for this lovely time. You recognise that I could talk to you about meditation and the 1,000 different ways that you can, the benefits of it, what it brings, how it's changed my life, what it brings and represents for me, the motivations about it, the reasons for it, the benefits you get from it. I believe I could probably talk for a week without stopping. So I feel as though this precious hour has disappeared in 2 minutes. I look forward to the workshop on Saturday. I look forward to your questions. Please send them. I would love to talk about meditation. If you send me an email and put meditation in the subject line, I'll answer you really quickly. It's my greatest joy to do that. I hope this has brought you a little clarity or the longing to actually sit for a bit. I do hope so. I'll go sit now on my meditation stool. Give thanks actually for the ability to be able to talk about this and to actually experience it in my life is simply my greatest joy, my being home. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being present. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Lots of love to you all.